Hello and welcome to U Media's podcast, in which we are gathered together to talk about something a little bit different. We have a big group in which we're going to be talking about the events that happened in Charlottesville over the weekend. So we'll try to keep this pretty tame as possible, considering of the heated situation that we saw, in which we saw a news clip of 10 minutes on the news for ABC News, in which they talked about all the events that happened over the weekend. So let's go around real quick and do a quick roll call so we all know who we are. So again, my name is Montgomery.
Good afternoon, my name is Devin.
Good afternoon, my name is Delbert.
Good afternoon, my name is Armand. Hey, my name is Lowell.
Yo, this is Jermaine. Steven.
My name's Ronald.
Hey, this is Marcus.
Tariq.
Made. Gerv.
I'm Jelani Brooks.
All right, guys. So let's start off with some impressions about watching the news clip. What did you feel about the events? What did you know about the events before you watched this? So I'll leave it up to anyone.
Coming, I didn't watch or I didn't hear about the event until today, and after watching it, my impression afterwards is it's an upsetting thing to see and very emotional thing to watch, as people are actually really defending something that shouldn't be put in place. So I really strongly agree that they should take down the statue.
What I had to say, a few things about it, was a little bit about the fact that the guy that drove the Dodge Challenger through the crowd got second-degree murder. And prior to watching this video, I had already known about the events that are taking place in Charlottesville, and I just didn't understand how it's only second-degree murder when in Virginia the law says that the difference between first degree and second degree is premeditation, and that looked premeditated to me. I mean, he definitely decided to get in his car and go drive into those people. That wasn't a last-minute type thing.
Am I mistaken, or did he drive all the way from Rhode Island?
Ohio.
Oh, Ohio, sorry.
Extra premeditated, my bad.
Yeah, that's a long drive.
Yeah, stop and get gas and everything. My take on the situation is, I guess I'm really disgusted by it. It's because, weirdly enough, it's become the norm in the country lately. And that's the sad part, that, we're conditioned and we're just kind of becoming normal that we'll see, such an, disgusting act of just racism, bigotry within the country. Why is this just so normal
To follow on to that, that is something that isn't good to see, but at the same time, one thing that I would say is that racism is something that is going to be impossible to get rid of, but at the same time, if you are going to be, in a sense, racist, you don't have to publicize it, and that's one thing I feel strongly. If you feel a certain way about something and you feel the need to express it, there are other ways to express it than to actually have to condone to violence.
Just, basically, man, it's just it's all about just really respecting people. At the end of the day, everybody's going to be different. Even between, let's say, African Americans, bro, even some people might get on each other for, skin tone and stuff like that. That's, just very little stuff. People are always going to try dividing each other and stuff like that. And, we're the same in the same way. All we really want is, love, happiness, success, and stuff like that. I don't really understand, these neo-Nazis, bro. I don't understand, the KKK members, all that stuff, all because, a statue. I just feel it's ignorant at the end of the day. Some people just want to watch the world burn.
My problem is with Trump. I don't understand why he didn't, immediately denounce, the neo-Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan, and why he said, it was the alt-left's fault just as much as it was the alt-right's. None of this would have happened if the alt-right didn't protest. And I get that, the alt-left, we were, protesting back and violence started from that, but we were trying to stop, the alt-right, they were over there saying, white lives matter. We're trying to take our land back and stuff. How can you not protest against that? How can you not, try to stop that when the country is freedom for all? And it's for everyone, not just one certain race.
Yeah, very somber news. But first, prayers out to people in Charlottesville. But anyways, I just see it as, yes, it is the alt-right. It's definitely their fault. Like, they already voted. They already voted on getting rid of the statue, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if it's basically done deal by law, like everything was right, paperwork was right, like why still go out there and protest something that's already a done deal? Now, on the all left side, there is some fault. If you just let them fester, do what they want, scream, shout, I don't know if the police would have handled it. They probably wouldn't have, to be honest, but they would have got the statue down some way, somehow. But just getting the all left involved, it just escalated things, as it seemed. But that's just how I see it.
Okay. My honest opinion about this is I can actually kind of sympathize with those who did protest against putting away the statue, even though it's kind of surprising. But when I say that I can sympathize with them, I can sympathize to the point where they didn't even have to bring out violence. They said the police didn't protect them, so why did they bring weapons? Because of the fact that they already intended this. Like, they expected this to happen. And the fact that their opinions is... it's obviously not one that you would pretty much go for. It's not something accepted amongst like the rest of the nation, because it's just not something that's very popular among like just the population. So, in a way, you could say that the way that they protested was kind of drastic, and they just only led to measures where they knew that it's the only way that's the most effective. So just I don't know. I say give the protesters like just a word of their mind, and without like just all the negativity against it, and we probably just come up with a solution.
I wanted to piggyback on what you said about saying that the alt left should have just stayed out of it. Like, my opinion on that is, if that's the case, then leaders like Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, all of those leaders, we wouldn't have them today if they just kept kicking the can. No one wanted to pick it up, and that's not my problem. Let the other people handle it. If the all left never did that, I get what you're saying. Like, they didn't have to be as violent too, but at the same time, like, they should have had their rights protected to protest, just like the alt-right should have had their rights to protest. But then again, I also agree with the whole done deal situation. If it was already voted, let them protest and they want, but the statue should still come down regardless, because the city has already decided to take it down, not the people protesting.
Right. What people really don't get is that, like, this is more than just a statue. Like, it's more than just taking down a statue. This is a statue of Robert E. Lee, who was a general in the Confederate Army. Like, you don't understand what that does to, like, minds, just in general. Like, as a young African American, knowing about Robert E. Lee, like, going to school and learning history about that, like, no one wants to, like, see that around. Like, as a minority, like, already placed as minority, we're already placed, like, in the lower class. It's like, just seeing that, it already, like, demoralizes how we feel and how we go about the way we do things and how we interact with socially and economically. Like, people don't understand that, like, there's a school named after Robert E. Lee and it's 90% black. How does that even make any sense? Like, people are just sheep to that, and no one knows, no one cares, no one really understands. They just brush it off. It's just a school, it's just a name, he's just a guy. But it's gone beyond that, and it's escalated.
I just want to speak on the thing that I forgot the young man's name, who said he was doing the Lord's work. But my real question is, what religion is that to eliminate a race or eliminate something like that? Like, if anything, if you're doing the Lord's work, you wouldn't be protesting against another race or whatever, or going against it. If anything, you'd be standing together. And if you guys were going to protest about something, it should be on something as this race, that race, and every single race come together and do it, not us going against each other. Because at the end of the day, we're all still the same thing underneath our skins. We still have bones, we still have the same organs, and we still have the same heart. So that's my...
All right, another question regarding the statue. The city, quote unquote, took it down because they voted on it. The events during that event afterwards, there were people taking down statues, pulling it down forcibly. Do you agree that was the right way to do that, or they should have waited to go like the city council did?
I think they should have waited. That is another thing that made it wrong. Like, all of shouldn't have gotten that and started pulling down any statue they see. It just didn't make sense.
I'll say more like just the force itself. I guess that's what it's actions like that managed to make like even more escalated pretty much actions like that can lead to something where people would be like, oh, we might have a second civil war or something like that, just off something as little as this, because just of how fast it can escalate and just of what they were already doing.
Yeah, I think the forcefully taking down the statues, that was not the right way to go about it. That's even just adding more fuel to the fire. I agree on that. But I kind of understand why they did it, because it's like, you know, you don't always, like, some people, they just don't want to sit around and wait for, okay, I need the approval of a city or whatever to do this. It's like, no, let's show that we actually have our own strength and just show, like, go out and do it ourselves. But they have to understand that, like, while you're taking down this symbol, it's also like just adding more fuel to the fires, adding more like chaos and problems.
I would have liked to coincide with what he just said. Like he said, taking it down forcibly does show, like, oh, like, we don't want to wait for this city, because I don't know the statistics on how long it took to get that voted, to get that Robert E. Lee statue down, but I'm positive that's been up for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And like the young man Gerv said, there's a school named after him as well that is 90% African American. Like, that is truly demoralizing. Going around about everyday life, having a constant reminder that you go to a school that is named after a great leader in the Confederate Army, something totally against you, your race, and everything that you and your people stood for and worked for.
I understand, like, that demoralizing thing is and like that just symbol is just like very toxic in a sense. I remember I went to a trip to Tennessee, and just everywhere I went there was just Confederate flags just everywhere. It's like every shop, and this is a place where tourists come. This is not just like normal like Tennessee, like out in like wherever people live. This is like a tourist spot, and you just see Confederate flags everywhere, and just like, it hurt me because it's like, this is a symbol that's just like demoralizing to my race, my people, and you guys are just like holstering it like everywhere, like that symbol.
To same thing, piggyback off of what they all said. The whole forcefully taking the statue down is yes, we all voted on it, but at the same time, I agree with what they said, like, and not just because of the fact that they, you know, it's something that we voted on, but with anything, if someone, you know, if you vote on something and it was already put in place, there's no need to go and make something happen faster than, you know, the time that's already needed. Like, because okay, yes, you voted on taking down the statue. Now just wait for the statue to be taken down. You don't need to do it faster because you're tired of seeing it. Because then that ticks a person off, because it's like, okay, we already voted on it. This probably would have never really happened, or wouldn't have went to the extreme that it did if they would have just patiently waited for the statue to be taken down. Then it matters and could have been handled differently, or a different scenario or event would have possibly taken place. But because someone, you know, did something because, like, I don't care what they said, I'm going to do it because I feel like it needs to come down right now at this instant, that makes a person mad. It's like, okay, we know you guys don't like us. You don't have to show it more than you already did. That's like I said earlier when I said you can be whatever you want, you can say whatever you want to say, but there's other ways of showing and doing it than having to take action and take initiative the way it was taken.
Honestly, you know, I really do agree with that too. I don't really agree with what Trump said, but I do understand where he was coming from, where basically he was just like, you know, the other side was just as bad as, you know, the people, the neo-Nazis and stuff. I mean, I kind of understand that, because that just only made the event worse. You know, they could have really stayed home and just, you know, made them look ignorant. You know what I mean? They really got down on the same level as these people, looked these people in the eye and really made it into like a war like that, making them look ignorant too. And another thing is that we don't just only have like little places like that, like in Virginia. And even when Lo was talking about over there in Tennessee, bro, I went like to a family trip over there to Stone Mountain, and we sitting here taking pictures at this mountain, right? This mountain right here is like literally the Confederate Mount Rushmore, and we have tons of black people there taking pictures, tons of everybody taking pictures, and like that one time, like really, I thought about that last week. I really looked at the picture and I was like, wow, like look at me, like the ignorance, like bro, I'm here taking a picture and I didn't even do my research on this place. You know what I mean? It made me feel just like straight up like I contradicted everything I really believed in, and just.
I was going to start by saying, well, of course, taking down the statue forcefully was wrong legally and whichever way you look at it. But to counter-argue what Lowell was saying, to them, their statue and their flags are a source of pride for them. So you got to think about it from their perspective. They don't want their history to be taken away from them in the same way we don't want our histories to be taken away from us. I mean, whenever they look at like a Black Pride parade or whatever, that's why they think of it as such a bad thing when we all get together. Because when they get together, we get scared too.
Basically, Jelani was pretty much said all that I was going to say. That for them, like, if you look at it from their perspective, it's a freedom of speech. They can hold their flags. They can do what they want. But all the violence and stuff is just very unnecessary, and it just really doesn't make any sense.
I want at the same time, yes, it's their way of showing pride and like them like, hey, like this is us, like their flags and statues are representation of like their history and stuff like that. But the statue in other people's eyes is like, it's not like a sign of weakness, but like a sign of someone holding them down. Like, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to like, yeah, like for like a black person to see something like that, it's like why do I need to look like it? Just like how them, like when they see us or see us doing something prideful like that, they get upset. We get upset every time we see that statue. And then like what Gerv said, going to a school with a man like that, that's like he said, demoralizing to look at. So when we're trying to get rid of it and things like that, it's for like our own good. I'm trying to lead up to saying like the way that it got to its violent point is because of the fact that nothing was done about it like in so long, and that we have to sit here and watch other people do that. And instead of like just coming together and being like, hey, whatever, you can do your thing, whatever, and stuff like that, or just do it in a peaceful manner, they kind of took it upon themselves to be super duper violent about it. Like, so I feel that the need that it should have been gone, regardless if it's your pride or your confidence about it. Just because you're boastful about it doesn't mean you have to be boastful about it in that kind of way. So.
Jelani, I wanted to ask you a quick question. You were just playing devil's advocate there, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so to piggyback, I just wanted to add to what he was saying, like how that when we do our parades and our celebrations and our get-togethers, they have the fear or they have their type of feelings about whatever we do. I totally agree with what you were saying, though, because of the fact that when we get together, though, but one thing I want to say to that is when we get together, it's to celebrate our history and what we've done and just uplift our race and our achievements and accomplishments. When they get together, they're also uplifting their race too, but it's not our fault that part of their uplifting is also suppressing black folk and suppressing minorities and things like that. Like when they lift up the Confederate flag, yes, that's quote unquote their history and their background, but that's also a part of history where they suppressed other races. So in a sense, they're not just celebrating their own uplifting and achievements. They're also celebrating the enslavement and the suppression of other ethnicities.
Same thing with our side, though. If you, not saying that this is what I actually believe, but just because it's not our fault that, it deals with blacks being suppressed, they would say it's not their fault, that that's what their heritage was all about, that them coming over here from the beginning, like, this country was built on slaves, and they seem to be very proud of it, to be honest. So they want to display just as much as we want to, you know, their pride, their heritage.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, they know what their history was about. They see it. They hear about it. They read it. They can change it. Just like how black people come together. Our parades aren't to like make us like, oh, like, yeah, let's continue with slavery, nothing like that. No, it's, if anything, we come together so we can make a bigger change than what was back then. And they consciously parade to uplift themselves and to demoralize black people. We come together to uplift everyone, and not just ourselves, but to make not just black people, but all minorities feel greater than what they were back then. Because it's not just black people who were belittled by the whites, but other cultures too. I mean, other cultures do it individual, like their own individual celebrations, things like that. But I mean, we don't come together and be like, oh, you know, hooray, you know, black people, you know, boo, white people. We don't say that. They do that. We don't.
You said, and they can change their history. Would you like to expand on that?
Meaning, as in, like, they can change from what happened in the past. They don't have to be against black people. Is what I'm trying to say. Like now, just because they were brought up into the culture of, oh, hate blacks, they can go up and be like, like. I know this is kind of like off topic, but it's like, hold on.
You have to elaborate more.
Yeah, it's like, it's in a sense of like, off topic. It's like Tupac in a sense, how he had to step into someone's life to understand, to bring them out of it. White people can step into black people's lives and minorities' lives to see what it's like instead of going against us. You know what I'm saying? Like, step in to see what we actually went through before you go against us and hate us.
They're not interested.
Yeah, I guess I kind of agree with you. The whole quote unquote changing history, like, don't let the same thing that happened in the past continue to happen in the present. But at the same time, like, to piggyback on I don't remember who said it, but someone was like that the black community, when we celebrate things, is to uplift every minority and things like that. I feel like that's a double-edged sword, so to speak, because of the fact that it's not always been uplifting every minority, because we used to only want to uplift ourselves, but then we found out that if we do happen to pull in the LGBT community, if we pull in the Hispanic community, it's more numbers, which makes more sense and is more powerful. The more you have in the group, the more people, the more voices, the more that can be said, the more that can be heard. But at the same time, like I said, it's not always been that way. I feel like the black community used that as a stepping stool in order to get a better edge on the quote-unquote opposition, being white nationalists and supremacists.
History's written by the winners. So, to be honest, there's really no changing it. There's no coming to the future or to the present and saying, oh, let's look back at what happened back then and say, let's just build on that, let's do this, let's do that. I mean, history is already written by whoever won. Whoever won is who writes it. So it's not like we're reading perfect history. We're not reading everything that's happened and everything that we know of. Like, it's written by the winners. That's point blank, period. And because of that, people we're already biased. We already have a bias. We already have in our head, like Devin is saying, we're this way and whites are this way, but that bias is probably going to be there forever because that's the way we were brought up. I mean, the only way you can really change that is just to think of the peace and positivity. Just think of winning in general, not just winning for yourself or for just winning to make everyone win. That's the way I look at it. Most people don't look at it that way. They always want to come up by themselves. They want to make it on their own. And I mean, like, I'm mainly like on my own type guy. Like, I like doing things alone. But like, when it comes to like in general, like, you want to do it as a community. Like, once things become done as a community, that's when we can say we can make change. We can do this. We can do that. But right now, nothing is being done as a community. Everyone is split up into different groups and different types of people, and I mean, there's not really a different type of person. We're all human. We're all the same being. Everyone is just the same, and I don't understand why we have to subject ourselves to being black, to being white, to being any type of skin color, to being anything, because we're all the same. We all came from the same. We all came from ash. We all came from dust. That's what we are. There's nothing else but that. So in terms of just anti-Nazi, Nazi, white, KKK, and all that, people are just scared of those words. And because of that, that's why Trump didn't say that. That's what I see from him. That's why he didn't say that at first, because people are afraid of these words. Like when people say, "Oh, KKK," you know, people they look a certain way, they think a certain thing. It's already run into our heads. It's already drilled into us. We've been conditioned from the start. We've been conditioned to be this way since day one, and because of that, I don't think there's really much change. It's just a different type of conditioning, a different type of change in the mind, but it's not really like a change in actuality. That's what I'm saying.
All right. I also want to piggyback off something that you said. You said community, and I think that is very important for us to have, because black people, African Americans, we want to see like a better future, but something that we do lack is a community. And we always want to separate people into like these little subgenres. That's like colorism is a big thing, where you have like light skins and dark skins, and it's like it's a big problem. I don't understand like what the problem is. All right, at the end of the day, you're both black. It's just that his shade of like his skin tone may be a little bit lighter or darker than his or hers. Like, so that's something else about community. We also don't do a good job at like supporting each other. Right? How is it that you have corner stores inside the hood, but everyone won't go to these black stores, but you got the Arabs on the corner, but you'll go to them. You got white people with their stores inside the black neighborhood, but you won't support your black brother over here. You know what I mean? It's all about like supporting each other, because when you support each other, you give them that like little push up, right? So that leaves that person able to like also bring the community up with them, and just like, it's like a ladder effect. You always just got to keep on pushing each other up, so you just keep on going higher. And honestly, it's like we have enough as like black people within America that like we should be at a higher like position than what we really are.
I wanted to speak on what you said. You said history is written by winners, but if that's the case, then how come we haven't written anything? Because technically, aren't we winners too? Because we won the right to have the same freedom just as the white people. Hold on. That's a question for you. And then second question is also, you said that, I'm not on their side at all, but you said that we don't have enough people supporting ourselves. But then at the same time, you have white people who are on our side too. So you saying you want them to go to their side?
No, what I'm basically saying is that, restate the question real quick.
I'm saying you have white people who support black people completely. You said black people don't support each other enough.
No, I'm not. All right. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that it's bad for white people to support us. No, if you want to support the African American community, go ahead. But as black people within our own community, if you want to see change within your own community, you also have to put in. You know, you're not just gonna sit back. Oh yeah, I want to see change. Just sit back in the background. Like, you actually got to do something. You know.
It's, as Lowell was saying, because a lot of black people, once they get rich and famous, they leave their community and go spend money somewhere else instead of spending it where they come from.
Yes.
That affects their community.
But that all comes back to what I was saying. We're already conditioned to be this way. Like, there's no really changing that, because we've already been built up this way. We've been built to, once we make it, there's like going back to that's not an option. Like, no one wants to go back to that. And because of that, like, we're just going to keep going through the same cycle over and over again. The same stuff's going to keep happening, and everyone's going to be shocked about it. But as you can see now, we're starting to just sit back and just look at it and be like, okay, another one, because that, like I've said, we've been conditioned. It's just like in psychology, operant conditioning, classical conditioning. This stuff happens. Like, that's basically what this is, and that's what's going on in the world. But no one pays attention to that.
Just like Gerv was saying though, like with the history thing. If, say, I just wanted to pose a question for everyone. say the sides were flipped and it was us out there doing the hard protesting like that, like, I think there would be much more social outrage if we were the ones doing those things. And then going off what he said, like, there are just not enough people in our community that want to see each other be uprised. Like, they just see themselves as individuals, like Irv was saying. Like, it just, not enough people want to see it. Just like the song OJ?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jay-Z was saying, you know, like OJ probably saw it as like, why bring up my community if all, you know, it's just bringing me down in the eyes of the white community. You know, he wants to be loved by everyone. That's why he pushed his own community to the side and embraced the white folk, because they're the majority around.
That's the thing that Gerb was saying, to piggyback off of that real quick. Like he was saying, the whole psychology thing and its conditioning, and it's just an endless cycle. That goes back to what I was saying. If everybody just wants to kick that can, yeah, it's going to be a cycle forever until somebody decides to pick up that can, like Martin Luther. He died for what he believed in. Martin Luther King Jr., let me quote, he died for what he believed in. Him picking up the can, becoming a leader, one of the people that helped us get to where we are today. Not saying that we wouldn't have got here on our own, but not saying that we would have. And then, like Jelani was saying, there are a lot of people in the community that get famous, make it, and never look back. Like the thing that's going on in the NFL right now. Mm-hmm. I think Dez Bryant was quoted saying something, don't quote me, but I don't know, he said something along the lines of, oh, that's not none of my business. Like, oh, I don't have no problem. I'm just trying to feed my family. Like, that selfish mentality right there is why people, the black community won't be what it should be or can't be what it should be, because of the fact that no one wants to, not no one, but not everyone wants to help out. And I'm not saying, yes, when you make it, you're supposed to spend your money bringing up other people. You're supposed to, quote unquote, waste it trying to help others get to where you are too. But in the same breath, you got to think, like, just a little bit can go a long way. You don't have to necessarily spend money to get them where you're at. You can teach them tricks, tools of the mind that you got, that you use to get where you are in life, and help them succeed too. And like the whole Kaepernick situation, like me, I strongly believe some of the, if not most of the black players in the NFL, which is made 70% on African-American players, should be boycotting along with him. Like, no, we're not going to play football till this man is signed. Or no, we have the right. Why doesn't he have the right to silently protest, standing up during the national anthem? But yet, these members of these neo-Nazi and the KKK and the white nationalists have the right to go in the streets about a statue.
But you see, that's part of the problem with, you said the NFL. As a black player, if you go on your Twitter or your Instagram and you put anything out about anything that's going on, and they'll be like, oh, go back to your sport. Don't talk about this. You're not in politics. You're not supposed to be talking about that. You play football and stick to that. So even if you have that stand, that platform, you can't really use it as much, because look at Kaepernick now. He's basically out of a job.
All right. Before we end the podcast, I got one last question. Mm-hmm. Do you think, and I'm trying to be on the positive side, that if we start taking down offensive statues, or we start renaming schools, streets, is that enough?
No.
Never.
No.
Okay. So give me something that you would say what you would like to do. And we're just going to go around the room and do it that way. We'll start over here. No? Yeah.
We'd have to change the people who control the government, because the government doesn't actually do anything. It's the top 1% who actually controls the government.
Agreed.
So
That's where the money's at.
what I'm saying is, the more people we can get to become the top percent and change the way things are actually come about in the government, then we'll actually see some actual change. The thing is, the way the system's already built, it's already built a certain way. That's why we're conditioned the way we are to play basketball, to become a rapper, to do this type of stuff. It's already built that way, but that's what I think is the only way to get about an actual change.
Okay. Well, my opinion on it is that I say my whole answer to this thing is that as humanity as a whole, if we broaden our perspective, or at least be humble of the fact that we don't like a certain individual or a certain group of individuals, that we can actually move on and actually try to create some change. Because racism in all actuality is just, you say it's more of a mental illness. It's something that they were taught, passed through their generations and their history. That's why they're so just prideful of it. So if you teach them a way of just, I wouldn't say tolerant, because you wouldn't be tolerant of a person you really like in the end of the day. But I say just at least learn a bit about their history, or just I don't know something about them, so that the fact that you don't have to just completely hate them all the way. And that's pretty much it.
The way I see it is, you could basically change the cover on the book, but it's still the same story. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, taking the statues down. Okay, what does that do? That takes like the physical aspect, but racism is still a thing that's still gonna exist, no matter if a statue or a flag is up. So it has to be like educating, not because all right, those neo-Nazi people, those are usually people like they live about in like their 30s, their 20s, right? They're already growing up. So I don't think that trying to change their minds would do anything, because they're already adults. They already are stuck on what they want to believe in. I think what you got to do is try to educate that new generation on like how to be like, how to have, like Ronald said, like a broader like perspective of everything, and just instead of just being like, oh, I want to be like those guys, being like, no, you gotta broaden everything out.
But to counter argue that, as in telling the newer generation a different mentality, they can't exactly like tell them to forget where they came from and their heritage.
I'm not saying to forget.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not saying exactly to forget, but like to teach them like, hey, this is like, you don't have to go this way. I understand that this is your heritage, but you don't actually
follow.
Yeah, you don't actually follow that.
Hate.
Yeah, like my mom probably did stuff that's probably gone down the line in our little family tree. That doesn't mean exactly that I will have to do the same thing. I can educate myself, or people have educated me to do different things. So, yeah.
It's a shame he went first, because I was pretty much going to say the same exact thing, believe it or not. But no one's really born a racist, like they're brought up in these homes, they're taught what they're taught. It's just maybe media, like everything out in public really just hurts the fact that we can never really get around this. Like, there's no escaping the history of what happened. Like, the only thing that we can do as an African American community is just try to, I hate to sound like, just come up, just fight, be harder, do what you have to do in school. Like, that's where it all starts, and then success comes. And when we're up in these higher up places, we can start helping each other out. The people who actually care can start helping. But the way we are now, like, we're just reaching for the stars down low in the hood. Like, no one's trying to help us out, really.
I agree with what the young man and Gervin said about increasing the top percent, because that rightfully so does control the government. Because if you look at the president, not going to say anything, but it doesn't seem as if he's the one controlling it. I honestly can't believe a man such as his intellect and his business mindset can control the government. He's doing everything that's happening, and he's saying what he's saying. I strongly don't believe that that's all him. I 100% agree that he's just a spokesperson. And like the young man said about racism, and about how you got to learn that it's not okay. Don't be tolerant and complacent about it. Like, speak up, say something. And then I also wanted to say that another way to change it is by using the platforms. I get that you're a football player or you get on Twitter and they're just going to tell you to go sit down. But at the same time, like, at the end of the day, after that football game, after that season, when your contract gets let go, you're just going to be another black man in America. So you also have a say in what you want to do, and you have a platform. So be wise enough to use it and help others that watch your platform and may look up to you, that you follow and back them. That way they can say something and they can have the idea and mindset of which direction they want to be steered. And I get, yes, it's just, they're going to say, oh, it's just sports. Just stick to basketball. Just stick to football, blah. But like I said, at the end of the day, after that contract, after the TVs turn off, when the lights go off, you're just another black man in America, just like the rest of us. So you have also something to say.
Another black man with lots of money and prestige.
I wanted to speak on, yes, taking down the statues and stuff like that. I'm not going to really do anything, but at the same time, on what you said about the successful African Americans who don't give back, because it's like when you see a homeless man in the street, you second think about giving him $1, right? Because what do you think he's going to go and usually use that money for? What? Some drug or something. It's just like it's just like, not going to say Pacific. It's just like minorities. You giving, I'm not necessarily saying it's bad to give back, but at the same time, you second guess giving back because it's like you really think like, what are they going to do with that money? What is it going to be used for? What is the purpose of it all?
I was gonna say, quick to add on that. No one, I'm not saying that this is bad, but no one necessarily said you have to give money. Like I said earlier, you don't have to necessarily give money.
No, but I'm saying I didn't necessarily mean like, I'm using it as an example of money is one, because it's one of the biggest things that our world revolves around is money. You know,
right.
To get something you need the currency to have it.
Right, but I'm saying like when you said you giving that money to that homeless man or that homeless person or the minority, and you're scared they're gonna use it on drugs, that's because you're scared that you're feeding that habit. You're hesitant. You don't want to help them dig themselves deeper. So in that sense, you don't have to necessarily give a young African-American boy money. So here, go invest this in this stock or do this business. No, you can give him a piece of knowledge,
but
something that he can use to help further his education and get him later on down the line without the need of finance.
But it's just like when you're in school, you're given knowledge. But look at most people when they leave. Not everyone is successful and goes to college, right? So therefore, it's a risk. It's a possibility. It's a percentage. What you get with that knowledge is all on you and what you do with it. It's just like how I said with the homeless man. If you give him $1, it's all to him. All you do is hope that he takes that dollar and does something good with it. You can give back all you want to, but it's about what you do with it afterwards. And hold on, excuse me. And also the thing about the black people, we demoralize ourselves because we bring our young African American into a world where it's all about the gold, it's about the chains, it's about this and that. So of course I'm going to grow up and become famous and not want to give back, because all I'm worried about is myself, because we live in a society and a household where that's all we're brought up to do is not to give back, but to only fend for ourselves because of the history that we went back onto. And that's what leads into gangs and our separations, and that's why we can't come together, because of the way that we all come and we speak bad about ourselves and things like that. And then back on to the piece of giving back. I'm not saying I'm going to be the one to be selfish. Of course I'm going to give back, because look at where I came. I'm not saying I came up in a bad place, but at the same time, of course I'm going to second guess it, and I second guess everything in life because I'm not sure of what's going to come next. You don't know what the future holds for anything.
Who do you truly second guess?
Our community.
Not necessarily our community, but every community, every single person, because you don't know what one being can do with something. You don't know how much power one person has. Just because a title is given to you doesn't mean you have more power than the other person. Just because he's titled as a genius, you don't know every single person in this world. You don't know how much knowledge someone has. You don't know how much wealth someone has. Just because Bill Gates is titled the richest man on earth, you don't know if someone out there has more money than him. They just may not be boastful about it and put it out there.
We're out of time. All right, we're going to have to end the podcast, unfortunately, because this has been an interesting topic. Sorry, we've talked enough, and unfortunately, this is something that is not going to be.
You can't
we can't just comprise in just 1 hour, right? Yeah. We can't do this. So hopefully things will improve over time. But as you guys have proven that you have great knowledge, and that future is really in your hands. So hopefully all of us can be that agent of change for all of our communities and for all of us. So on that note, thank you for listening to us on YMM Media. Join us next month, and thank you, everyone.